G'day all you Caliphs of the cold chain. What a privilege and a joy the past 6 years have been. It's been an extraordinary journey. Sue and I have met and befriended many wonderful people. We've learned a great deal, shared many laughs, and we've been given the opportunity to visit some extraordinary places. Those who say business and pleasure don't meet have never been to a GCCA event. I owe my friend and WFLO Chair Nick Pednault an enormous debt of gratitude. Nick selflessly took on the lion's share of public relations responsibilities, usually shared equally between the chairs of the IARW and the WFLO. He recognised that it was not practical for me to travel across the Pacific for each and every event, usually attended by the IARW chair, and I thank him most sincerely for his heavy lifting. I also want to publicly acknowledge Nick's wonderful sense of humour and his honest and insightful commentary throughout the past year. Working with the staff at Club Corey has been one of the great joys of my career. To Corey, Megan, Richard, Lowell, Rita, Margot, Catherine, Laura, Alice, Kenna, Melissa, James, Stu, Stephen, and the two who misbehaved and were left at home, Melissa and Bethlehem, thank you all for your friendship, your patience and your support. The 4 pillars of the GCCA strategic plan, lead the cold chain, grow the cold chain, drive profitability and develop talent, have spawned some fabulous initiatives. From actively promoting food security and food maximisation, creating the tools to help us make our businesses more efficient energy-wise, convening customer roundtable events and conducting customer surveys to enlighten us on what our customers really want, to the monitoring of government affairs and the promotion of international relationships, the breadth and depth of projects being championed by our association across the globe is just astounding. On reflection, this past year presented me with 3 personal highlights: garnering GCCA support for the promotion of food security and food maximisation on the global scale, hosting the Global Cold Chain Summit in Sydney, and hosting a business luncheon in Washington DC as part of our Assembly of Committees last year were all standouts. Actually, it wasn't so much hosting the DC luncheon that was so memorable. It was me making Ray Starling, Economic and Agricultural Advisor to the President of the United States, look so bloody good up there on the stage. Has Ray been fired yet? Back to Sydney, listening to Hannah Stuver, Anna Marie and Megan Leo, Samuel and Sebastian Visa recount their Sydney adventures one afternoon, I realised that whilst we were trying to create a bigger, better global cold chain, these young men and women of the future were actually doing something far more important. They were preparing themselves to become globally aware citizens of the world, and I thought that was fabulous. I've really enjoyed the experience of having served as the IARW chair, and I've learned a great deal throughout my tenure, and in particular about the people. I've learned that Eben James is more tenacious than a Kelpie with a bone, that Ray Tarnowski has no peer when it comes to being the great disruptor, and that Rita Haley is without doubt the most important cog of the lot. My memoirs are sure to include some memorable anecdotes from my time on the GCCA board. Dan Kaplan's priceless lesson on the art of diplomacy. Tell them to go to hell, but do it so nicely they'll actually look forward to making the journey. Gazing deeply into Corey's eyes during the touchy-feely session in Sydney and watching that all too familiar ice-cool composure melt like a block of butter under a hot sun, I thought I was supposed to be looking into his soul, but we lucked out on that one, didn't we, mate? And the final story that could be a chapter all of its own, but I can't go into details for fear of retribution. But the title will probably read something like this: The Monkey, the Soprano, and Rumbles in the Jungle. Thank you to my team at Doughboy, Wayne, Aaron, Michael, Sophie, Rebecca, Joanne and Debbie, for looking after the shop during the many absences over these past 6 years. And finally, my thanks to my family, to Sue, Michael, Thomas and Claire. After all, you're the reason I do what I do each day. To Doug and Paul, genuine and affable men with wonderful stories of their own, congratulations for having the courage to accept the challenges of leadership and for committing yourselves wholeheartedly to the service of the global cold chain. May you both experience the joy of giving back and the satisfaction of knowing that you played your parts on the international stage like real pros.
Well, it's been quite an interesting journey. Not only talking about this year, I'm referring to the journey that started with my first assignment with the GCCA before it was even called GCCA. My very first assignment was Vice Chair of the Education Committee. Back then I told myself it was great, I didn't have to say anything, just take notes, that was perfect. What not everybody knows is that I'm a very shy individual. When I was asked to serve on the WFLO board, it was a great honor, but a really terrifying one. First of all, being a group of industry icons for a newcomer was very impressive. Being around leaders who express themselves so elegantly was really intimidating. Over the years, I've worked really hard on improving my English, carefully listening to everyone's colorful expressions, trying to understand them all. I then realized that I didn't only needed to be perfectly fluent in English to do this gig, I also needed to be fluent in football expressions. You know, us Canadians, we would never stick handle our way using fancy hockey expressions to put it top shelf. What I mean is that to be successful, I knew I had to go hard in the corners, get the puck to the net, and drop the gloves if I had to. I'll always remember the first time that I had to deliver a report to the full board. I was terrified. When I was done, Bill Hudson looked at me while I was making my way back to my place and said, "You'll be a great chairman one day." It really meant a whole lot to me and gave me hope, even though I didn't really believe him. Corey and all the staff really helped me slowly get out of my shell, out of my comfort zone, pushing me a little further every time with more and more assignments, always by my side supporting me. This year they fully embraced the theme that we've chosen, which was leading the cold chain. One of my favorite moments this year was spending time with the staff at headquarters, sharing my story, sharing my vision for this industry. They were really responsive and really pushed the theme further with so many different initiatives. All of my fellow board members accepted me from day one. The industry legends took me under their wings and really helped me deploy mine. The last year has been spectacular for me. We've been incredibly busy at Congebec this past year, but still giving back to the industry that has given me so much is absolutely necessary, and sharing the WFLO made it all worthwhile. I realized a childhood dream of going to Australia. I pretended to speak Spanish at the Latin American Cold Chain Summit. I handed the WFLO diploma to some of my own team members at both institutes. That was pretty special. The graduation ceremony is something that I'll remember forever. I did some of this with a broken leg, but still, it was all worth it. My advice to Paul, it's simple. Corey and staff are way too organized. You gotta wake up pretty early to influence the course of events and take control of them. Otherwise, the whole chairmanship year just becomes a huge rafting ride. Being from the West Coast, you might as well not sleep at all for the entire year, my friend. Enjoy every moment of this huge privilege that is now being offered to you. Know that I'll always be right there if you need me. Besides, I guess I have to find something to do now.